Burt, I'm not sure if anybody had asked you if it's okay to record. It'll be all audio only, and we're going to be putting it on YouTube. Is that okay? Thank you. You heard me. Do you hear me, Burt?
I had to step out of the room for a minute.
Okay. We're gonna. Is it okay for us to record your voice? It'll be audio only, and it'll be on YouTube. Okay. Great. And you'll be speaking for 20 minutes. And our timekeeper, hopefully we have one, will give you a buzzer warning 5 minutes before the 20-minute time limit. And everyone else, please mute. And Burt, it's all yours.
Oh, excuse me, I don't think we have a timekeeper yet. And Rick, you want to be co-host now?
I should be timekeeper, Nick.
All right, thanks, Nick.
Cool.
Hi, everybody. My name is Burt Tucker, and I am from St. Augustine, Florida. I have been in the program for 43 years plus, and am maintaining a 100-pound weight loss. It's a long journey, my friends. A lot of ups and downs. In 1977, I was dragged to my first 5 meetings by my former wife. And I did everything one was supposed to do. I got a sponsor. I got all the literature. I got a scale. I got measuring cups. I bought everything I was supposed to, but I didn't do shit. I didn't do anything. During that time, my mother was terminally ill. And my first wife was coming in from Tucson to visit. And when she got there, we decided that we would go down to Miami and visit my mother, who was in the hospital. So we got on a plane in Orlando and flew down to Miami. And when we hit the airport, the paging system was going off, and it was my sister telling me that my mother had died while we were in flight. And I had to go down and tell my father, who was waiting to take us to the hospital for there. And it was not fun. Anyways, she had cancer and had suffered for about 6 or 7 years. But I had no idea what my ex-wife really wanted to do, why she was in town. It took a little bit of time to find out. What was going on was she was going all over the country, making her amends to everybody that she had harmed. And she wanted to go down to make amends to my mother. And she said to the head nurse, "I'd like to see Bert's mom." And the head nurse said, "Well, not a very pleasant thing to see dead bodies." She said, "Well, I worked in hospitals. I know what a dead person looks like." I had no idea what she was doing because I didn't know diddly poop about the program at that time. But came to find out that she was going all over the country making amends. And she was there to make amends to my mom, to my sister, myself, my dad, everybody in our family. And she came back to Orlando with me after we buried my mom. And she stayed with us for 10 days. And I got almost like a halfway house program. Meetings every day. She was making meals for us, so I knew what abstinent food was like. And it was amazing. I got a good head start. And I took on the program head first. I mean, there's nothing about it. I put down the sugar, I put down the white flour, and I did not pick up, well, actually didn't even pick up any of that for 10 years. But it goes a little bit first. But during that first year, a lot of things went on during that first year. I lost 105 pounds, and I became a superstar. Everybody wanted me to come to their meetings and speak at their meetings and go here and go there. And they put me up on the pedestal, and that is not good stuff. Because because when you fall off a pedestal, you fall pretty far. And about December of that year, there was I guess it was one of the first region conventions in Orlando. And I ran into a guy from New York, and they were all the big superstars from New York. And he said to me, he says, Overeaters Anonymous is a sexual smorgasbord for a man. And I heard that, and I said, oh my goodness. And I didn't take that into account. But I found out over the years that there wasn't a region assembly, a WSO convention, a World Service Convention, any convention that I went to, and I was a region rep, that I didn't get proposition. And I said, all these, it's craziness. And there were sexual predators all over this program. It's a whole lot better now, I believe. I don't travel that much anymore. Toward the end of the first year, I was asked to be a region rep, and I went to my first region assembly. It was in Columbia, South Carolina, and I went up there with two ladies who at that time were old enough to be my mother, and it was quite a convention because during that time, I mean, I was divorced at that time, and I met my third wife at that point, and it was, but even before she and I got married, I was crazy. I had traded in food for sex. During that time, there was one day where I was with 5 different women in one day. And if that ain't compulsive, nothing is. But you can trade compulsions back and forth, here and there. And during the next 10 years, I kept the program, and I was hardline abstinence. 10 years, no sugar, no white flour, no eating in between. And I maintained that 100-pound weight loss within 5 pounds or so. And after that 10 years, I can tell you when I took that first compulsive bite, I was at a convenience store in Altamont Springs, Florida. I can tell you exactly what it was. And it took me 18 years to get a good abstinence back. I never left the meetings. I was always going to meetings, but I did not have a good abstinence until I met a woman online. And she had 40 years of program experience, OA, AA, Al-Anon. She was really something, and it turned out that we stayed together for about 6 months and found out that she was a CIA field agent who was on leave, and her partner had been vacuumed up. A really exciting incident. And we would go to a restaurant, and she would always sit with her back to the wall. She would never, she was scared. She was scared of the agency. And she taught me one thing. She said, all you have to do is show up. And ever since then, I've just showed up. And from that point on, after 18 years, I went to about 6 or 7 meetings a week, got into the program up to my ears. And I maintained my abstinence basically through service. I was a region rep, and I was elected to be a tech web chair. And even within that being a tech web chair, kept losing weight. Within the program, some people are, they actually can question your abstinence, and that's really not a good place to be. And during that time, when somebody questioned my abstinence, I went to the trustee, and I asked the trustee, and probably a lot of you know Charles, and he told me, your abstinence is what is yours, and yours alone. And at that time, I wrote this poem, and I want to share it with you. Give me a second. It's called, This Is My Abstinence, My Alone. This is my abstinence. That's what it has to be. It's work I have to do each day to keep me safe and free. It's not about my body size or what is on my plan. It's how I work my program, for that's all I can. I might not work it perfectly. It's not what I have to do, because this is my abstinence and does not count on you. It's only just a guide I live each and every day. It's kind of black and white and never shades of gray. It frees me from my vultures that lived with and were ingrained. It chased them from my very life and freed me from my pain. This plan for life I live in, it's mine and mine alone. I planned it and I work it, a work I have to hone. This plan is what I share with God. He tells me where to go. No other one can judge my plan. This program has no pros. I used to be a superstar, a pedestal so high, and when I tripped and when I fell, a time to almost die. It took a decade to return and grab my program tight. With all the abusers being there, recovery was in sight. My brothers and my sisters, you all have your own plans. Look not to where you are this day. It's what you do and can. I cannot question abstinence except for what's my own. I know within my program, I will never walk alone. And that was published in the OA magazine a long time ago. Actually, it was one of the region officers, or who shall we say, who questioned my abstinence. That was pretty tough. So I kept on going with service, and what we're doing right here today is a result of the service that we started at Region 8. We started like 13 years ago doing virtual meetings, having virtual attendance. And 9 years ago, we did our first actual program with voting. And we're still doing that. We're using Zoom, and here we are in Region 8, and we live on the bloody edge of technology. And our Tech Web Committee is fantastic, and they do a great job, and they are a model for the rest of the country and the world. We should all give them a big vote of thanks for what they've done, and still do. I'm still on the committee. I'm not very active, but I'm still there. In 2009, after 12 years of suffering, I finally went and had my hip replaced. And 7 weeks later, I went to Atlanta to a region meeting. And so it was amazing. If you're having a problem, something like you need a joint replaced, get it done. It's amazing things that happen. It's really a blessing. It's been a blessing for me. I was able to drive to the airport, fly to South Carolina, rent a car, drive to North Carolina, drive back to Atlanta, do the Tech Web at the Region Assembly, drive back to South Carolina, and fly back to Orlando. And that's only 7 weeks after I had my hip surgery. So it can be done, and it is a blessing. And in August of that year, I met my present wife and moved to St. Augustine, and actually changed from Central Florida Intergroup to now it's New Freedom Intergroup, and it was all different. But it doesn't matter, it's still OA. And 2018, still maintaining the program, I wound up in the hospital with sepsis and C. diff. And it turned out it was caused by my gallbladder. I found that out from my surgeon about 4 weeks after I had surgery to remove it. He looked at me and says, "You almost died, Burt." I said, "Oh my goodness." And I was in intensive care for 8 days and in isolation for another 7. Because C. diff is nasty. It's as nasty as co-diff, almost, along with sepsis. And I got sick again. And during that time, I was eating hospital food. And I just maintained a great program. And my weight came down. I was maintaining at that point about a 65, 70-pound weight loss. It came back down, and now I'm back down to a 100-pound weight loss, and maintained that for the last year. So I reattained my goal. And this program is so great. I'm so grateful for it. I couldn't have lived without it. And I can't live without it. It gives me everything I want. And I guess for tonight, I'm not really feeling super great. I'm going to have to call you at that time. I've had a little rough time with my Crohn's disease today. So forgive me for cutting it a little bit short. Please call on me again. I'll be glad to come up, glad to lead or do whatever you need. Thank you for asking me to come and lead with you. Thanks.
Thanks a lot, Burt.
My pleasure.